Is it possible to eat a hearty breakfast and still have room for a fantastically filling lunch and dinner? Not if you order these sandwiches. Southerners hold biscuits near and dear to their hearts, but there's a biscuit sandwich at Bojangles that can weigh pretty heavily on that organ and the rest of your body. Appropriately enough for a chain that's heavily concentrated in the South, Bojangles is famous for its chicken and biscuits, but it's the country fried steak biscuit that you really need to watch out for. This slab of fried beef steak in between a biscuit boasts a decadent 620 calories and 40 grams of fat. That's more than 200 calories compared to the chain's standard bacon, egg, and cheese. There's also 1.5 grams of trans fat, which might not sound like much until you realize that you shouldn't be eating more than 2 grams a day based on a 2,000-calorie diet. Trans fat can lead to heart disease and also does a number on your cholesterol. So, as sacrilegious as it may sound, it's best to stick to just the bacon or the sausage and skip the biscuits when it's bow time. As one of the biggest coffee chains in the United States, it makes sense that Dunkin has an extensive all-day breakfast menu. Some items are low-calorie and therefore potentially decent on-the-go nourishment. But then there's the sausage, egg, and cheese croissant, which should absolutely be avoided like the plague if you want a light breakfast. As delicious as these flaky pastries are, anything on a croissant is going to be relatively unhealthy. They may appear light and airy, but they pack a surprising punch of calories. And when you add in a greasy slab of sausage, that makes for a match made in calorie overload hell. To be specific, there are 720 calories and 52 grams of fat lurking within the sandwich. If you're aiming for a 2,000-calorie day, this one small sandwich could account for more than a third of that. But you're still probably pretty hungry a few hours later, as it won't exactly fill you up for very long.
The best part of my day is when I'm at Dunkin. Think that's sad?
Yes, very.
If you're watching what you eat, McDonald's isn't exactly the best choice for a balanced, wholesome meal. And that's certainly true of the breakfast menu, particularly the sausage, egg, and cheese McGriddle. It may be rather diminutive, but it punches above its weight. The bread consists of 2 grilled pancakes, while the insides are stacked with egg, cheese, and a greasy sausage patty. It all adds up to 550 calories, which isn't too bad for a full breakfast. But if this doesn't fill you up on its own, then you'll probably be adding another 140 calories for a hash brown and even more for a drink. The McGriddle alone is also packed with 33 grams of fat, but the biggest issue is the sodium. With 1,290 milligrams, that's more than half of the recommended daily amount. Swapping this McGriddle out for a McMuffin is a better option, as it has roughly 20% less sodium. It does, however, also contain a half gram more trans fat, so you may just want to skip the golden arches in the morning altogether. If the idea of spending $6 every day on coffee makes you scream, then we imagine you're not adding a sandwich to your Starbucks bill. But sometimes the convenience of grabbing your Java and morning meal together is just too good to pass up. But when the mood strikes, you'll want to steer clear of the double-smoked bacon, cheddar, and egg sandwich. This savory offering will deliver 500 calories to your belly, though it won't necessarily fill you up. It also contributes 27 grams of fat and almost half of the daily recommendation of sodium. Furthermore, it's not even close to being made in-house. Most of Starbucks food comes packaged and processed, and is just unwrapped and heated before being placed in a bag. From the bloated ingredients to the lackluster preparation, this sandwich just isn't worth your hard-earned dollars.
Let me clarify. I like money!
Burger King sells some of the unhealthiest sandwiches on the fast food market, and that certainly includes the breakfast menu. For example, the double sausage, egg, and cheese Croissan'wich delivers 2.3 grams of heart unhealthy trans fat, and that's far from the only strike against it. Between the heaping, helping, and flaky but calorically dense croissant, this handheld stacks up with 65 grams of fat and 883 calories. If you can't resist it entirely, try swapping the croissant out for a biscuit and opting for just one sausage patty, which will cut out a significant amount of the calories and fats, trans or otherwise. Burger King's breakfast menu is so full of calories and fats that it's no surprise that it's showing up more than once on this list. This time, it's the fully loaded version of the Croissan'wich that must endure the walk of shame. It arrives on your plate topped with egg, cheese, bacon, sausage, and sliced ham. Though it has more meat piled on, the fully loaded Croissan'wich is actually lower in almost everything than its double sausage counterpart. But that doesn't exactly make it a healthy choice. This sandwich has over a gram of trans fat, which may be an improvement over the double sausage, but it's still more than the recommended amount. And the calorie count comes to 714, along with 49 grams of fat. Those numbers aren't great, but they could be worse. Where the fully loaded really stands out, in a bad way, is the sodium count. With more than 2,200 milligrams packed in, your daily dose of saltiness will be just about shot well before the clock strikes noon.
That's too much, man!
Some fast food items make it easy for us to know what they're all about with an undeniably appropriate name. That's undeniably the case with Hardee's Monster Biscuit. It technically hasn't been on the official menu for a while, but if you order it, the staff should know how to make it for you. But you may not want to do so once you get into the nitty-gritty. The Monster Biscuit is stacked high with egg, cheese, sausage, ham, and bacon. With 790 calories, 52 grams of fat, and a death-defying 2,370 milligrams of sodium, this is undeniably one of the very worst ways to break your fast. The only redeeming factor is that it contains a grand total of 0 grams of trans fat. That's certainly not the case for all of Hardee's breakfast sandwiches, so you'll need to choose wisely here. If you're trying to avoid anything with trans fat, then steer clear of anything with gravy, which is pretty much the only thing not piled atop the Monster Biscuit. Simply put, Hardee's isn't exactly the best place for the thoughtful eater. Your best bet is to grab a country ham biscuit, though you'll still be walking away with quite a bit of salt first thing in the morning. 2 slices of Texas toast isn't exactly a satisfying breakfast for most people, but they can certainly be the base and top of one mighty sandwich. That brings us to Sonic's Sausage Breakfast Toaster, which consists of egg, cheese, and sausage smashed between those 2 giant slices of Texas toast. It may sound unbearably buttery and greasy, but this sandwich is actually fairly reasonable with its calorie count of 570. What really makes it a no-go is the high sodium content, as its 1,960 milligrams are dangerously close to the recommended daily cap.
I like to live dangerously.
To be fair to Sonic, like most fast food chains, it isn't exactly trying to be the place to go for a healthy breakfast. However, you can escape relatively unscathed by opting for a wrap over one of the toaster sandwiches. The calorie and sodium counts will be lower, and you won't be consuming quite as much fat compared to the sausage toaster's 34 grams. One exception, though, is the Supersonic wrap, which cranks up the calories a bit too much. At first glance, Panera Bread's menu looks pretty healthy. Looks can be deceiving, though. The Asiago sausage and egg sandwich is proof of that, as it clocks in at 820 calories. And this is yet another breakfast sandwich that's pretty small relative to its ballooning calorie count. So don't expect to feel full for terribly long. Calories aren't the only problem here, as pretty much all of the macros are riding high compared to the recommended daily allowances. At nearly 1,500 milligrams of sodium, this is nothing short of a salt bomb. 51 grams of fat, 0.5 of which are trans, sure don't look good either. Fortunately, Panera has plenty of better options, like the Garden Avo and egg white sandwich, which is the way to go if you don't want to zip through all of your nutritional counts in a single meal. Au Bon Pain usually lives up to its name, which is French for from good bread. This quick food bakery sells breakfast sandwiches that generally lean toward the lower calorie ranges, with a couple of exceptions. The highest calorie item is the 2 eggs, sausage, and cheddar sandwich on an Asiago bagel, which boasts 670 calories and 34 grams of fat. And at over 1,000 milligrams of sodium, the salt content is nothing to scoff at either. If you're trying to keep it healthy while eating at Au Bon Pain, there are plenty of ways to do so. You can sub out the eggs for egg whites and choose a lighter bread option for starters. You can also keep the sausage but opt for the turkey variety to further lower the calorie and fat intake. If you're looking for a breakfast sandwich at 300 calories at Au Bon Pain, you can certainly do that, just not with the sausage, egg, and cheese sandwich. Located in 17 states across the country, Corner Bakery is essentially a somewhat less mainstream version of Panera. It offers some similar food items, and as you may have guessed at this point, not all of them are super healthy. For example, the Commuter Croissant may be a welcome option for anyone on the go, but the calories and fat content packed in there could end up slowing you way down. Corner Bakery's croissants are on the large size, and this sandwich stuffs bacon, eggs, cheddar, cheese, and tomato in between a sliced croissant, which stacks up to about 680 calories. You'll also be adding 47 grams of fat to your morning, 0.5 of which are from trans fat. So it's probably best to instead opt for an alternative bread choice like a bagel whenever you stop by Corner Bakery. Surprisingly, one of the biggest calorie bombs on this list is served at Corner Bakery, which isn't exactly known for being as unhealthy as some of the notorious fast food chains. That higher standard is thanks to this drive-through spot preparing many of its items in-house or made to order. That means that Corner Bakery can have some longer wait times, but the expected trade-off is that your patients will be rewarded with healthier and tastier food. But then there's the BBLT and egg sandwich, which comes with so much bacon that it's in the name twice.
It's bacon!
This is admittedly one of the tastiest options on the Corner Bakery menu. It does, after all, come with extra bacon, but it also contains 860 calories and 50 grams of fat. The salt content is also sky high, to the tune of 2,730 milligrams of sodium. So this one single sandwich will account for more than 40% of your daily calorie intake and more than 100% of the recommended sodium count. If you plan on eating anything later in the day, well, that doesn't exactly leave you much, if any, room for lunch and dinner.